I'm staring at my phone screen when it happens. The moment that will unravel 15 years of silence, of swallowing my pride, of playing the role I never auditioned for. The notification lights up. Sarah tagged you in a photo. My sister. Always Sarah with the perfect timing, the perfect angle, the perfect caption that cuts just deep enough to draw blood without anyone else noticing the wound. I tap the notification. The photo loads slowly, like my phone knows what's coming and wants to give me one last moment before everything changes. There they are. My parents, my sister, her husband, their kids. My brother Michael and his family. Everyone's wearing the ugly Christmas sweaters Mom insists on every year, the ones she orders in bulk from that catalog she loves. They're arranged around the long dining table at my parents' house, the one Dad built 30 years ago, the one that's hosted every major family milestone I can remember. The caption reads, "Family only. No troublemakers. No troublemakers." My 8-year-old daughter, Emma, is in her room right now, crying because her cousins are having fun without her. My 6-year-old son, Jake, asked me 3 times today why Grandma doesn't want him at the party. I told him Grandma was just busy this year, that maybe we'd see everyone at New Year's instead. I lied to my kids to protect adults who should know better. The photo has 63 likes already. Aunt Linda commented, "Beautiful family." Uncle Tom, "Merry Christmas to the best crew." My mother's book club friends, Dad's fishing buddies, Sarah's college roommate, they're all there, bearing witness to my exclusion, validating it with their little red hearts. I should close the app. I should put the phone down, go check on Emma, maybe take the kids out for ice cream to salvage what's left of this disaster of a day. That's what the old me would do. The me who keeps the peace, who absorbs the blow, who makes himself smaller so everyone else can be comfortable. But something shifts in my chest, something that's been compressed for so long I'd forgotten it was there. I tap the like button. Then I tap comment. My thumbs move before my brain catches up. Congrats! Mortgage and taxes are all yours now. I hit send. For exactly 8 seconds, nothing happens. 8 seconds where I can still delete it, where I can pretend the truth doesn't exist in the form of a simple comment on a Facebook post. 8 seconds where the careful architecture I've built, the silence, the patience, the dignified distance, still stands intact. Then the notification storm begins. The post disappears first. Just gone. Vanished like it never existed, like Sarah hit delete so fast she probably broke her phone screen. But screenshots live forever, don't they? Someone saw it. Multiple someones based on what happens next. My phone starts ringing. Sarah. I decline. It rings again immediately. Mom this time. Decline. Dad. Michael. Sarah again. Mom again. Numbers I don't even have saved. Probably Sarah's husband, maybe Aunt Linda. My phone is vibrating so violently it's dancing across my coffee table like it's possessed. I watch it buzz and flash, buzz and flash. Somewhere in my chest where that compressed thing used to live, there's a strange lightness now. Not quite peace, not yet, but something close to it. Something that feels like the moment right before a storm breaks, when the air pressure shifts and you can finally breathe again. Emma appears in the doorway, her eyes still red. Dad, your phone won't stop. I know, sweetheart. Is it Grandma? Probably. Are you going to answer? I look at my daughter, this beautiful, sensitive kid who spent all afternoon wondering what she did wrong, who asked me if maybe she should apologize to Grandma even though she doesn't know what for. I think about Jake, who's too young to understand exclusion but old enough to feel it in his bones. No, I tell her, not yet. The phone shows 90 missed calls now, 90, in less than 10 minutes. I pick it up, silence it completely, and set it face down. Want to watch a movie? I ask Emma. She nods, cautious, like she's not sure if she's allowed to enjoy something today. We head to the living room where Jake's already set up his blanket fort. I help them arrange the pillows, put on their favorite movie, and try not to think about the fact that everything I've carefully maintained, the illusion, the arrangement, the unspoken agreement that's governed my family for 15 years, just shattered with a single comment. Outside, it started to snow. The story doesn't start with a Facebook post, though. It starts 15 years ago in a hospital room that smelled like antiseptic and fear. I was 25, newly married to Grace, my college sweetheart. We'd just bought our first apartment, a cramped one-bedroom that we loved because it was ours. I was working as a junior analyst at a tech firm, long hours but decent pay, the kind of job where you could see a future if you squinted hard enough. Then Dad called at 2 in the morning. "Your mother's in the hospital," he said, and his voice, my father's voice, which I'd only ever heard raised in laughter or frustration about the Packers losing, was shaking. "They think it's her heart. Can you come?" I drove through darkness to the hospital, Grace beside me, neither of us speaking, because what do you say when your world tilts sideways? Mom was in the ICU when we arrived. Dad looked 10 years older than he had at Sunday dinner the week before. Sarah was there, 23 and fresh out of college, mascara smeared down her face. Michael, my younger brother, still in high school, sat hunched in a plastic chair staring at nothing. Mom survived. The heart attack was what they called moderate, serious enough to change everything, not serious enough to kill her. But the hospital bills started arriving like accusatory letters from a creditor you'd forgotten about. Dad worked in manufacturing, good, honest work that destroyed his back over 30 years. Mom had been a school secretary, the kind of job where you make everyone else's life easier and nobody notices until you're gone. They had insurance, but insurance doesn't cover everything. It covers most things, until most things become not quite enough. I was sitting in their kitchen 3 weeks after Mom came home when Dad showed me the numbers. He didn't cry. My father has never cried in front of me. But his hands shook as he laid out the hospital bills, the rehab costs, the medications Mom would need for the rest of her life. "We might have to sell the house," he said quietly. This house, the one he'd bought when I was 3 years old, the one he'd spent every weekend maintaining and improving, where all our memories lived in the walls, where Mom had measured our heights on the doorframe every birthday, where Dad had taught me to ride a bike in the driveway, where Christmas morning had always meant running down those specific stairs to that specific tree in that specific corner. "How much?" I asked. "How much what? How much do you need to keep the house to cover everything?" Dad looked at me like I'd asked him to calculate the weight of the moon. "Son, that's not—" "How much?" he told me. It was a number that made my stomach drop, but it was also a number I could work with, not easily. Not without sacrifice, but possible. "I can help," I said. "You've got Grace to think about, your own life." "I can help," I repeated, and something in my voice made him stop arguing. We worked it out on a napkin, right there at the kitchen table. I'd cover the difference between what insurance paid and what the bills demanded. Dad would handle the mortgage, the regular expenses. I'd be the safety net for the medical costs, the emergencies, the things that insurance companies love to find reasons not to cover. "Just until we get back on our feet," Dad said. "A year, maybe 2. I nodded, even though we both knew that hearts don't heal on schedules, that medical costs don't respect timelines. Grace didn't question it when I told her. That's who she was, who she still is, even though we're divorced now. She understood family obligation, understood the debt we owe to the people who raised us. We adjusted our budget, canceled the vacation we'd been planning, learned to love lentils and rice more than we'd ever imagined possible. The arrangement worked. Mom recovered slowly, carefully. Dad kept working despite his back, despite the pain I could see in the way he moved. I wired money every month, sometimes a little, sometimes a lot, depending on what medical emergency had emerged. Sarah finished college and started working in marketing. Michael graduated high school, went to community college. They knew I was helping vaguely in the way you know something without really examining it. A year passed, then 2, then 5. The temporary arrangement became permanent, the way temporary things do when everyone gets comfortable. But comfortable isn't the right word, is it? Dad got used to the stability. Mom stopped worrying about every doctor's visit. Sarah and Michael got used to coming home to a house that wasn't going to disappear. And I got used to being the invisible foundation, the one who kept everything standing without anyone really noticing the weight. Nobody said thank you, but nobody had to. Family doesn't say thank you for this kind of thing. Family just is. Except somewhere along the way, the definition of family started to shift. The property tax crisis hit when I was 28. By then, Grace and I had Emma. Our tiny apartment had become impossibly cramped with a baby. The walls seemed to shrink every time Emma cried, every time we tripped over another piece of baby equipment in the middle of the night. We'd started looking at houses, dreaming small, but dreaming nonetheless. Nothing fancy. Just something with a second bedroom, maybe a backyard where Emma could play. The kind of modest dream that feels reasonable until life decides otherwise. That's when Dad called about the tax assessment. The city had revalued their neighborhood. Their house, bought for $89,000 in 1988, was now assessed at nearly $500,000. The property taxes had tripled. And the increase wasn't gradual, wasn't something you could adjust to. It was immediate, brutal, and absolutely going to force them to sell if something didn't change. I was sitting in my car outside the office when Dad explained it. I'd stayed late again, working on a project that my boss promised would look great come review time. Through the phone, I could hear Mom crying in the background. Not the loud, dramatic crying, the quiet kind that's somehow worse. "We fought it," Dad said. "Took it to the appeals board. They said the assessment is accurate. Market value, they called it. Like that's supposed to make us feel better about not being able to afford to live in our own house." "How much is the increase?" I asked, even though I didn't want to know. He told me. That number, that one specific number, was almost exactly what Grace and I had saved for a down payment. The fund we'd built dollar by dollar, sacrifice by sacrifice. The money that was supposed to buy us a future with more than one bedroom and a bathroom that didn't have mold in the grout. "I don't know what we're going to do," Dad said. "Your mother can't handle another move, not with her heart. But we can't stay. The math doesn't work." I sat in my car in the darkening parking lot and did calculations in my head. If I covered the tax increase, we'd have to stay in the apartment for another 3 to 5 years. Emma would be 6 before we could afford to move. But if I didn't cover it, my parents would lose their home. "I'll handle it," I said. "No, absolutely not. We've already taken too much." "Dad." "You've got Emma now. You need to think about your own family." But they were my family. That was the problem, wasn't it? Or maybe it was the solution. I couldn't untangle which anymore. I covered the property taxes. Grace cried when I told her, not angry tears, just tired ones, disappointed. She held Emma in her arms and looked around our cramped apartment and said, "Okay, we'll make it work." We always made it work. But covering the property taxes wasn't enough, because money problems are never isolated. They metastasize. 6 months later, the furnace died. 8 months after that, the roof needed replacing. Dad's truck broke down. Mom needed new medications that her insurance company suddenly decided were non-essential. Each crisis arrived with the same phone call, the same apologetic tone, the same promise that this would be the last time. And each time I ran the numbers and figured out how to make it work. Sarah got promoted at her marketing job. I remember because she posted about it on Facebook. Photos of her celebrating with colleagues, cocktails at some trendy downtown bar. She'd moved into a nice apartment by then, the kind with exposed brick and a view. She'd taken a vacation to Cancun. Michael finished community college and got a job in IT support. He bought a new car. Not practical used Honda new, but shiny still has that smell new. Neither of them offered to help with Mom and Dad's expenses. Why would they? As far as they knew, everything was fine. Mom and Dad were stable. The house was safe. The monthly crises I quietly solved remained invisible to everyone except me and Grace. And Dad, to his credit, never asked them. He only ever asked me. Maybe because I'd said yes the first time, I became the designated solution. Or maybe because he knew I wouldn't say no. The arrangement expanded like water filling available space. Property taxes became my responsibility. Major repairs became my responsibility. Mom's medical costs, Dad's back problems, the endless small and large expenses that come with aging and home ownership, all of it flowed toward me like I was the path of least resistance. I got promoted at work, became a senior analyst, then a manager. My salary grew, and every increase meant I could cover a little more, stabilize things a little better. Grace and I stopped talking about buying a house. The conversation just faded. Emma got older in the same cramped apartment. When Jake was born, we converted our dining area into his nursery. We ate dinner on the couch and told ourselves it was cozy. By the time I was 35, I'd been covering my parents' property taxes for 7 years. I'd paid for 2 roof repairs, 3 furnace replacements, countless medical bills, and a dozen smaller emergencies. I'd contributed more than $180,000 to keeping my parents' house standing. Nobody knew the exact number but me. I kept a spreadsheet, meticulously documented. Not because I wanted to throw it in anyone's face someday, but because I needed to know. Needed to see it written down. Proof that I wasn't imagining the weight. Grace used to ask me sometimes, late at night when we were both too tired to be anything but honest, "Do you think they know? Really know what you're doing for them?" "They know," I'd say. But I was wrong. Knowing something and understanding it are different things. They knew I helped. They didn't understand I'd sacrificed my own life to do it. That distinction would matter more than I realized. Grace asked for a divorce when I was 36. We were sitting in our car outside Emma's dance recital when she said it. Not in the heat of an argument. We barely argued anymore. We'd moved past arguing into something worse. Polite distance. The kind of careful courtesy you show strangers on an elevator. "I can't do this anymore," she said quietly. Emma and Jake were inside with my mother, who'd offered to save them seats. "I've tried. God knows I've tried. But I'm tired of being married to someone whose first priority is a house we'll never live in." "That's not fair," I said, even though it was absolutely fair. "When was the last time we went on a date? When was the last time we talked about our future instead of your father's furnace? When was the last time you looked at me like I was your wife instead of just another responsibility you're managing?" I didn't have answers. She didn't wait for them. "I love you," she said. And she meant it. I could hear it in her voice. "But I can't keep loving you while you love them more. It's not... They need... And we don't?" She turned to face me, tears on her cheeks. "Emma needs a bedroom. Jake needs space to play. I need a partner who's actually present. But you've chosen. Every month, every time they call, you choose." We cried there in the car while Dance of the Sugar Plum Fairy played faintly through the school auditorium walls. Grace didn't threaten, didn't rage. She was just done, exhausted, used up by a sacrifice she'd never signed up to make. The divorce was amicable, which somehow made it worse. Grace didn't ask for much, just enough to rent a small house where the kids could have their own rooms. We split custody 50-50. Kept being friendly for Emma and Jake's sake. Became the kind of divorced couple that other divorced couples are jealous of. But the guilt ate at me like acid. I'd destroyed my marriage to save my parents' house, and I couldn't even tell anyone that's what had happened. How do you explain that? How do you sit at family dinner and say, "Hey, by the way, I'm divorced because I couldn't afford both a wife And your property taxes. I didn't tell my family about the divorce for 6 weeks, just kept making excuses for why Grace couldn't come to Sunday dinner. When I finally did tell them, sitting in their living room with weak coffee and the weight of their concern pressing on my shoulders, their reactions were predictable. Mom cried. "You two seemed so happy. What happened?" "We grew apart," I said, which was both true and completely dishonest. "If you need anything," Dad said gruffly, uncomfortable with emotion as always, "we're here for you." Sarah gave me a hug and said all the right things about how divorce is hard but sometimes necessary. She posted something vague on Facebook about family supporting family through tough times that got 100 sympathetic likes. Nobody asked if money had been an issue. Nobody connected the dots between their stability and my instability. Why would they? As far as they knew, I was doing fine. I had a good job, a decent car, no obvious signs of financial stress. I'd gotten very good at hiding the cracks. After the divorce, I moved into a studio apartment, smaller than the place Grace and I had started in, back when we were 23 and optimistic. It had a Murphy bed and a view of a brick wall. On the nights I didn't have the kids, I'd sit in the silence and add numbers to my spreadsheet. Medical bills, $52,000, property taxes, $84,000, home repairs, $31,000, emergency expenses, $19,000, total, $186,000. I'd paid for nearly half a house. Not my house, theirs. And I'd lost my marriage in the process. But I kept paying. Because what else could I do? Stop and watch my parents lose everything they'd built? Let them scramble in their late 60s to find an apartment they could afford, force my mother to handle the stress that could trigger another heart attack? The logic trap was perfect. I'd already sacrificed so much that stopping felt like making those sacrifices meaningless. Sunk cost fallacy on an emotional scale. I was too deep to quit, too invested to walk away. So I stayed in my studio apartment with its Murphy bed. I took Emma and Jake to the park on my weekends, bought them ice cream I couldn't really afford, and pretended everything was fine. Meanwhile, Sarah bought a house. A real house with 4 bedrooms and a finished basement. She threw a housewarming party and posted pictures of her renovated kitchen, granite countertops, and stainless steel appliances gleaming under perfect lighting. Michael got married, had a kid, took a vacation to Disney World that looked, based on the photos, fairly expensive. And every month, I paid my parents' property taxes. Every crisis, I solved. Every emergency, I covered. Grace remarried eventually. A good guy, stable job, owns his own home. Emma and Jake got the bedrooms they deserved. I was happy for them. Genuinely. And grateful that Grace had found someone who could give them what I couldn't. But at night, in my studio apartment, I'd look at my spreadsheet and wonder when the temporary arrangement was going to end. Wonder when I'd paid enough, sacrificed enough, proven myself enough. The answer, I was slowly realizing, was never. There is no enough when you're the foundation. Foundations don't get to stop holding things up just because they're tired. But I was so tired. The year-end party was supposed to be a homecoming. I'd missed it the previous year, had the kids that weekend and couldn't get anyone to watch them. The year before that, I'd been sick with the flu, the kind that makes your bones ache. But this year, I'd been planning for it. Had my weekend with the kids lined up perfectly. Had even bought Emma and Jake new outfits because Mom always took photos, and I wanted them to look nice. The year-end party was my parents' thing, started it 20 years ago as a replacement for having us all at Thanksgiving, which had become too logistically complicated with everyone's in-laws demanding time. So we did Christmas morning separately, but the weekend before New Year's, everyone came together. It was written into our family DNA. You showed up for the year-end party. I texted Sarah 2 weeks ahead of time. Looking forward to the party. Kids are excited to see everyone. She responded immediately. Actually, need to talk to you about that. She called 5 minutes later, her voice doing that careful thing it does when she's about to tell you something you won't want to hear. "So," she said, stretching the word out like taffy, "Mom and Dad have been talking, and they think maybe this year should be quieter. More intimate." "Okay," I said slowly. "So a smaller group?" "Right. Just, the core family." "I am the core family." Silence. Then, "Of course you are. But with your divorce and everything, Mom's worried it might be awkward. Plus, your kids can be kind of a lot. Emma's at that age where she's dramatic about everything, and Jake's still pretty wild. And Mom's heart—" "Stop," I said. "I'm just explaining. You're uninviting me and my children to a family party because we might be awkward? That's not— Look, don't make this into a thing. It's 1 year. We'll do something different next year when things settle down." Things settle down. As if my divorce was a temporary disruption rather than a permanent rearrangement of my life. As if Emma's personality and Jake's energy were phases they'd outgrow if we just gave them time. "Did Mom and Dad actually say this?" I asked. "Or is this you deciding?" "We all talked about it. It was a group decision. Family consensus." Family consensus. A vote I wasn't invited to. A discussion that happened without me, about me, deciding I was too much of a problem to include. "Fine," I said, because what else was there to say? I could argue, could plead, could make a case for why my children deserved to be with their cousins and grandparents. But the truth was radiating through the phone line. They didn't want us there. And you can't argue someone into wanting you. I hung up and looked at Emma's new dress hanging in my closet, the button-down shirt I'd bought Jake. The excitement they'd been building for weeks. Talking about seeing Grandma and Grandpa, asking if there would be hot chocolate and cookies like last year. How do you tell your kids they've been uninvited from Christmas? I tried different framings in my head. Grandma's not feeling well, but Emma would want to visit her, bring her soup. It's going to be a smaller party this year, but Jake would ask why smaller meant without them. Plans changed. Too vague, too suspicious. In the end, I settled on a version close to the truth. Grandma and Grandpa are doing a different kind of party this year, just for the adults. But we'll do something special, just the three of us. Emma's face fell. "Don't they want to see us?" "Of course they do, sweetheart. It's complicated adult stuff." Did we do something wrong? And there it was, the question I'd been dreading. The one that twisted my heart sideways. My 8-year-old daughter automatically assuming she was at fault for her own exclusion. "No," I said firmly. "You did absolutely nothing wrong. Neither of you. This is not about you." But how do you explain that to a child? How do you make them understand that sometimes being unwanted has nothing to do with your worth and everything to do with other people's comfort? Jake took it better. He was too young to fully grasp the rejection. But Emma cried herself to sleep that night, and I sat in my Murphy bed space listening through the too-thin walls of my studio apartment, adding another number to my mental spreadsheet. The cost of keeping them stable, $186,000, and one marriage. The cost of my children's hearts. Apparently, too high for them to consider. The weekend of the party, I took Emma and Jake to a movie. We got popcorn and candy, sat in the dark theater watching animated characters learn valuable lessons about family and belonging. The irony wasn't lost on me. That evening, while I was helping Jake brush his teeth, my phone lit up with the notification. Sarah tagged you in a photo. And there it was. Proof that the party wasn't canceled, wasn't even smaller. Michael's whole family was there. His wife, their 2 kids. Sarah's husband and their 3 children. Mom and Dad in the center, wearing those ugly Christmas sweaters, smiling like everything was exactly as it should be. The caption, "Family only, no troublemakers." I read it 3 times, each time feeling something different harden in my chest. Troublemakers. That's what we were. Not family. Not worth including. Just troublemakers better left uninvited. Emma appeared in the bathroom doorway. "Dad, are you okay?" I realized I'd been standing there, frozen, staring at my phone while water ran over Jake's toothbrush. "Yeah, sweetheart, I'm fine." But I wasn't fine. Something had crystallized in that moment, something cold and clear and absolutely done with being the foundation that nobody bothered to acknowledge, let alone appreciate. I dried Jake's face, tucked both kids into their sleeping bags, the Murphy bed barely fit us all, and waited until they were asleep. Then I picked up my phone and looked at that photo again. All those smiling faces, all that casual cruelty dressed up as family togetherness. I tapped like, I tapped comment, and I told them the truth they'd been happy to ignore for 15 years. Congrats. Mortgage and taxes are all yours now. 10 minutes later, my phone started ringing, and it didn't stop. The calls continue through the night. I silence my phone after the first hour, but I can see the notifications stacking up like debris after a flood. Missed calls, text messages, voicemails. By midnight, the count has reached ridiculous proportions. 147 missed calls. The number would be funny if it weren't so telling. I don't sleep. Just lie there in my Murphy bed with Emma on one side and Jake on the other, their small bodies warm and trusting, and watch the notifications multiply. At 2:17 a.m., I finally open the texts. Sarah, call me now. Sarah, what the hell is wrong with you? Sarah, do you have any idea what you've done? Sarah, Mom is crying. Sarah, call me back right now. Mom, sweetheart, please call me. We need to talk about this. Mom, I don't understand what you mean. Mom, why are you doing this? Dad, son, call me. Michael, dude, what the fuck? Michael, seriously? Tonight? Michael, you couldn't just let them have one nice evening. Then a number I don't have saved. This is Travis, Sarah's husband. I don't know what's going on, but you need to fix this. Call your sister. And my personal favorite, from Sarah at 1:43 a.m. I deleted the post. Happy now? You made your point. Mom's heart can't handle this stress. If something happens to her, it's on you. I set the phone down and stare at my ceiling. The water stain in the corner looks like a map of somewhere I've never been, somewhere I'll never afford to visit. Not while I'm paying someone else's property taxes. Emma stirs beside me. Dad, why are you awake? Just thinking, sweetheart. Go back to sleep. She's quiet for a moment, then, are you in trouble with Grandma? Smart kid, too smart. Maybe a little. What did you do? I told the truth. She considers this with the seriousness 8-year-olds bring to matters of justice. Teacher says telling the truth is good. It is, baby. But sometimes people don't like the truth very much. That's silly. Yeah, I say quietly. It really is. By dawn, I have 203 missed calls and 96 text messages. My voicemail is full. Apparently, there's a limit to how much panic and rage a phone can store before it gives up. I get up carefully, extracting myself from between the kids. Make coffee in my tiny kitchen while watching the sunrise through my window. The view is mostly brick wall, but there's a sliver of sky visible if you stand at the right angle. It's pink and gold this morning, the kind of beautiful morning that feels wasted on a day like this. My phone rings again at 7:02 a.m. Dad this time. I stare at his name on the screen, feeling that familiar tug, the instinct that says you answer when your father calls, that says respect and obligation and duty. I answer. What the hell were you thinking? No hello, no preamble, just straight to the accusation. Good morning to you too, Dad. Don't you dare be cute right now. Your mother had chest pains last night. We almost called an ambulance. Sarah says you posted some crazy comment and then wouldn't answer your phone. What is going on? I posted a true comment, I say calmly, about the financial arrangement we've had for the past 15 years. Silence. long enough that I check to make sure the call hasn't dropped. Then, "That's private, family business. You don't air that on social media." I was tagged in the photo, Dad. The one captioned, "Family only, no troublemakers." I thought you might want to know what excluding the troublemakers actually costs. Jesus Christ, is this about the party? Sarah explained your mother wasn't up for a big crowd, and with your divorce, my divorce that happened because I couldn't afford to stay married while paying your bills. The words come out harder than I intended. Emma appears in the doorway, eyes wide. I turn away, lower my voice. Dad, I've been covering your property taxes for 7 years. Your medical costs for 15. Emergency repairs, furnace replacements, all of it. Do you have any idea how much? We never asked you to. You asked every time you called about a crisis. Every time you said, "We don't know what we're going to do," and waited for me to solve it. That's not fair. We were grateful. Were you? Then why didn't you tell Sarah and Michael? Why didn't you say, "Your brother is the reason we still have this house"? Why was it easier to call me a troublemaker than to admit what I've been doing? We didn't. That caption wasn't about the money. Sarah didn't even know. Exactly, I say. Nobody knew. Because it was easier for everyone if I just quietly held everything up without making it awkward by acknowledging the weight. So what? This is revenge? Punishment? Airing our dirty laundry because your feelings got hurt? I close my eyes. Of course that's how he sees it. Not as truth-telling, but as retaliation. Not as finally saying what needed to be said, but as weaponizing information. I'm done, I tell him. The arrangement we had, it's finished. As of January 1st, you're responsible for your own expenses. All of them. We can't afford. Then sell the house. Or ask Sarah to help. Or Michael. They both have disposable income. They both take vacations and renovate kitchens and buy new cars. Maybe it's their turn. You're going to do this to your mother? After everything she's been through? And there it is. The guilt card, played with expert precision. But I've been training in this guilt gym for 15 years. I know all the machines. I'm not doing anything to Mom, I say evenly. I'm stopping doing everything for you. There's a difference. Your mother is crying right now, actually crying, and you want me to tell her you're cutting us off? Tell her I'm treating you the same way you treated my kids, as people who aren't family enough to include. I hang up before he can respond. Emma's still in the doorway, Jake now beside her. They're both staring at me like I've suddenly grown a second head. Who's cutting who off? Jake asks. Nobody, buddy. Just grown-up stuff. You sounded mad at Grandpa. I was a little mad, I admit. But we'll work it out. Except I have no intention of working it out. Not this time. This time I'm staying hung up. They arrive at my apartment at 10:30 a.m. I'm making pancakes for the kids when I hear the knock. Not a polite knock. An aggressive series of pounds that make Emma jump. Dad? She asks nervously. Stay here, I tell them. Keep eating. I look through the peephole. Sarah, Michael, and, wonderful, Travis. Sarah's husband, who I've met exactly 4 times at family functions, and who always treats me with the particular condescension reserved for people he considers less successful than himself. I open the door, but don't invite them in. We need to talk, Sarah says. She looks exhausted. Her perfect makeup from last night's photos now smudged. Good. My kids are here. Then we'll talk quietly. Let us in. No. Travis steps forward. Listen, man. I don't know what your problem is. Travis, I say calmly, you have nothing to do with this. I suggest you wait in the car. He's my husband. This affects our family, too. Your family? Interesting choice of words from someone whose caption excluded mine. Sarah's face flushes. That was a joke. You know I didn't mean a joke. My kids were crying, but you were joking. Can we please just talk? Michael cuts in. He looks uncomfortable, shifting his weight. Come on, man, we're family. Are we? Because I seem to recall being specifically labeled otherwise. Oh my God! Sarah explodes. Are you really going to be this petty? One comment, one stupid caption, and you're going to blow up 15 years of... She stops herself, but I finish the sentence for her. 15 years of me paying for Mom and Dad's house while you renovated your kitchen? The hallway goes silent. A neighbor's door opens slightly, then closes when they sense the tension. That's what this is about, Travis says, like he's solved a mystery. Money. Jesus, how much? Travis, shut up, Sarah hisses. No, let's talk about it, I say. Since we're here, since you came to my home demanding conversation, how much do you think I've contributed? Nobody answers. Guess, I press. Come on, Michael. You work in IT. You're good with numbers. How much do you think it costs to cover property taxes for 7 years on a house assessed at $500,000, plus medical expenses, plus emergency repairs? Michael's face goes carefully neutral. I don't know. 50 grand? Higher. 75? Try $186,000. The number lands like a physical blow. Sarah actually takes a step back. Travis's mouth opens slightly. Michael just stares. You're lying, Sarah finally says. I have documentation, receipts, bank transfers, canceled checks, every single dollar, tracked and filed. Want to see? Dad never told you. Neither did Mom. Because it was easier if you didn't know. Easier if you could enjoy your house and your vacations without feeling obligated to contribute. We didn't know we needed to contribute, Michael says weakly. Did you ever ask? Either of you? Did you ever wonder how Mom and Dad kept the house after property taxes tripled? How they handled every medical emergency, every repair? Did you think some miracle occurred, or did you just not think about it at all? Silence. That's what I thought, I say. And now you show up here, offended that I finally said something. Not offended that I was excluded with my kids. Not guilty that I've been holding everything together while you built your lives. Just angry that I made it awkward. So what's your plan? Travis asks. Blackmail them? Hold it over their heads? Travis, I say tiredly, I'm going to say this once more. This is not your business. But since you asked, no blackmail, no holding anything, I'm simply stopping. As of January 1st, I will no longer be covering their expenses. They can handle it themselves, or you all can figure out how to help them. That's it. You can't just abandon them, Sarah says. Like you abandoned me at the party? That's completely different. Is it? Explain how. She can't. She tries. Her mouth works. Sounds come out. But she can't form a coherent argument for why my exclusion was acceptable but my withdrawal of support is not. They'll lose the house, Michael says quietly. Maybe. Or maybe Sarah can help with property taxes. Maybe you can cover some medical bills. Maybe Travis, with his apparently endless supply of opinions, can contribute. I've carried it for 15 years. That's 15 years more than any of you. We have our own families to think about, Sarah protests. So do I. Emma and Jake. Remember them? The troublemakers? I already apologized for that. No, you didn't. You deleted the post. That's not an apology. That's damage control. Emma appears behind me, slipping her hand into mine. Dad? Is everything okay? The three of them stare at my daughter. Sarah has the grace to look ashamed. Everything's fine, sweetheart. These folks were just leaving. But they're at the door, Emma says, confused. Yes, and now they're going back to their cars. We're not done talking, Sarah insists. Yes, we are. You've had my answer. I'm out. Figure it out among yourselves. You're all adults with good jobs and disposable income. I'm sure you'll manage. I close the door. Lock it. Stand there with Emma's hand in mine while they argue in the hallway, their voices rising and falling like waves against a shore that's done eroding. Eventually they leave. Jake comes over, syrup on his chin. Who was that? Aunt Sarah and Uncle Michael. Why didn't they come in? They were in a hurry. They sounded mad. A little bit, yeah. Are you still in trouble with Grandma? I look down at my kids, these beautiful, innocent kids who were called troublemakers for existing, who were excluded to avoid awkwardness. I think about the studio apartment I'm raising them in, the Murphy bed we all share, the down payment I'll never have because I gave it away to people who couldn't even invite us to dinner. No, I tell Jake. I don't think I'm the one in trouble. The emails start arriving Monday morning. I'm at work, trying to focus on the quarterly reports, when my phone starts buzzing with increasing insistence. Text messages from family members I haven't heard from in years. Cousins, aunts, uncles. All with variations of the same message. What's going on? Sarah says there's a family emergency? Apparently, the siege strategy has escalated to recruitment. At lunch, I drive to my storage unit, the one I've kept for 5 years, the one nobody knows about. Inside, in a filing cabinet I bought at an estate sale, is my documentation. Every receipt, every bank transfer, every email exchange with Dad about various financial emergencies. I photograph everything. It takes 2 hours. My phone's camera roll becomes a testament to 15 years of silence. Back at my desk, I create a Google Drive folder, title it Financial History, 2010-2025. Upload everything. Set the sharing permissions to view only. Then I compose an email. Subject, clarity. To Dad, Mom, Sarah, Michael. I've been asked repeatedly what I meant by my comment on Sarah's post. For the sake of clarity, I'm providing complete documentation of our financial arrangement over the past 15 years. Attached is a link to every receipt, bank transfer, and email related to my contributions toward property taxes, medical expenses, home repairs, and emergency costs. The total, as of December 30th, 2024, is $186,394.667. This is not a request for repayment. This is simply information you should have had all along. I provided it quietly for 15 years because I believed family helped family. I'm providing it publicly now because I was excluded from family status while still expected to maintain family obligations. As stated, effective January 1st, 2025, I will no longer be contributing to these expenses. You have 1 week to make alternate arrangements. I wish you all well. I hover over the send button for approximately 90 seconds. This is it, the point of no return. Once I send this, there's no pretending anymore, no quiet foundation, no invisible support structure. I click send. For about 10 minutes, nothing happens. I imagine the email arriving in their inboxes, the confusion, the clicking of the link, the slow dawning realization as they scroll through years of documentation. Then my phone explodes. Dad calls first. I decline. He calls again immediately. Decline. He tries 5 more times before giving up and sending a text. We need to talk. This is not something you put in an email. Sarah's text arrives in all caps. You're ruining everything. Michael. Holy shit, dude. Mom. Sweetheart, please take this down. Take it down. As if evidence can be disappeared once shared, as if truth can be unspoken once said aloud. I don't respond to any of them. Instead, I go back to work. Finish the quarterly report, send it to my boss with time to spare, have a perfectly normal afternoon, except for the fact that my phone is essentially having a seizure on my desk. At 4:17 p.m., a new email arrives. From Sarah, with Dad, Mom, and Michael CC'd. This is private family business. You had no right to document our parents' personal financial information or share it without their consent. What you've done is a violation of their privacy and possibly illegal. Take down the shared folder immediately, or we will pursue legal action. I read it twice, then forward it to my lawyer. Well, not my lawyer, Grace's lawyer from the divorce, who I have on retainer for exactly these kinds of situations. She calls me within an hour. They have no case, she says cheerfully. You documented your own financial transactions. That's not a privacy violation, that's responsible record-keeping. And the First Amendment protects you sharing factual information about your own expenditures. Tell them to pound sand. Can I quote you on that? Please don't. Tell them to consult their own legal counsel if they have concerns. I email Sarah back, brief and professional. I've consulted with legal counsel. My documentation and sharing of my own financial records does not violate any laws. If you have concerns, I suggest you speak with an attorney. At 6:30 p.m., Dad calls from Mom's phone. I almost don't answer, but something makes me pick up. Why are you doing this? His voice is rough, older than I remember. What do you want? An apology? You want us to grovel? I want you to handle your own expenses going forward. That's literally all. You know we can't afford. Then sell the house, Dad. Downsize. Move somewhere cheaper. These are all solutions adults use when they can't afford their lifestyle. This is our home. 35 years we've been here. Every memory. I had a home too. A marriage. A down payment for a house where my kids could have bedrooms. I gave all of that up for your home and your memories. Nobody asked you to sacrifice your marriage. You called every month with a crisis. Every month you presented me with impossible choices and then waited for me to choose you. What did you think would happen? He's quiet for a long time, then, I thought we were family. I thought that's what family does. So did I. Until family became a conditional status that my kids and I apparently don't qualify for. Sarah already apologized for the post. No, Dad, she deleted it. Again, not the same thing. What do you want from us? What would make this right? It's a fair question. What do I want? The honest answer is complicated. I want them to have understood earlier. I want them to have noticed. I want to not have had to choose between my marriage and their mortgage. I want my kids to have been included. I want 15 years back. But since I can't have any of that, I settle for something simpler. I want you to stand on your own, I tell Dad. I want you to either find a way to afford the house or make the hard choice to let it go. I want you to stop expecting me to solve problems that aren't mine to solve. And I want you to tell Sarah and Michael the truth, all of it. Not just that I helped, but how much and why and what it cost me. And if we do that, then what? Then maybe eventually we can talk about rebuilding something. But it won't look like the old arrangement, it can't. Your mother's heartbroken. So were my kids when they were uninvited. Jesus Christ, you're going to hold on to that forever, aren't you? No, I say quietly. I'm going to let go of it. That's exactly what I'm doing. I'm letting go of all of it. The hurt, the obligation, the one-sided arrangement. I'm letting go, and you're going to have to figure out how to catch yourself. I hang up before he can respond. That night, lying in my Murphy bed with Emma and Jake asleep beside me, I check the Google Drive folder one more time. 47 views. 47 times someone, family members, probably forwarded the link to others, has looked at the evidence. 47 witnesses to 15 years of silence. I close my laptop and stare at the ceiling, at the water stain that looks like a map. For the first time in years, I feel light. Not happy, not yet, but lighter. Like I've set down a weight I didn't realize was crushable until I put it down. The family meeting happens 3 days later, on a gray January afternoon that feels appropriate for the occasion. They want to meet at my parents' house. Neutral territory, Sarah calls it, which would be funny if it weren't so tone-deaf. The house I've been paying taxes on is hardly neutral ground. My apartment or nowhere, I tell her. Your apartment is too small for all of us. Then I guess not everyone needs to come. We compromise on a coffee shop halfway between my place and theirs. Public space, witnesses, the social pressure of not causing a scene. Perfect. I arrive 15 minutes early, claim a corner table, order a black coffee I won't drink. Watch the door and wait. They arrive together, a united front. Mom and Dad, Sarah and Travis, Michael and his wife Jen. They look like a delegation, formal and nervous. Mom's been crying. I can see it in her eyes, the red puffiness she's tried to cover with makeup. I stand when they approach. Old habits. Thanks for meeting, Dad says stiffly. Of course. We sit. There's an awkward moment where nobody knows who should start, who should speak first, how to begin a conversation that probably should have happened 15 years ago. Finally, Dad clears his throat. We've had some discussions, as a family, about the situation. Okay. First, we want to acknowledge... He pauses, looks at Mom, then continues. We want to acknowledge that we weren't fully aware of the extent of your contributions. The extent? The total amount, Michael clarifies. We didn't know it was that much. Did you know it was anything? Silence. That's what I thought, I say. Continue. Sarah leans forward, her professional mediator voice activated. What we're trying to say is, we had no idea you were struggling. You never said anything. I was divorced. Right. But you didn't say it was because of money. Would it have made a difference? She stops. Can't answer that honestly without condemning herself. Mom reaches across the table, tries to take my hand. I don't pull away, but I don't close my fingers around hers either. Sweetheart, we never wanted you to sacrifice your happiness for us. Then you should have paid your own bills. It comes out harsher than I intended. Mom flinches like I've slapped her. That's not fair, Travis interjects. They were in a difficult position. Travis, I say wearily, I'm going to ask you one more time. What part of this involves you? My wife's family involves me. Your wife's family that you joined 3 years ago? The financial arrangement you had nothing to do with creating and everything to do with benefiting from? That family? Okay, everyone needs to calm down, Sarah says. We're here to find solutions, not attack each other. I'm not attacking, I'm clarifying. Travis has been part of this family for 3 years. I've been holding it up for 15. Those aren't equivalent positions. Nobody's saying they are, Michael says. He looks genuinely distressed, which is something. Look, man, I had no idea, seriously. Dad never told me about any of this. If I'd known, what would you have done? I would have, I don't know, helped? Contributed? Would you? Because Dad knew exactly how much I was paying. He had to. He was the one calling with the bills. So if he didn't tell you, if he didn't ask you for help, that was a choice. And you never asked why everything was fine, why the crisis you surely noticed as a kid just disappeared. That was also a choice. Michael looks down at his coffee cup. Jen, his wife, puts a hand on his arm. So what now? Dad asks. His voice is rough, tired. You've made your point. We're here, acknowledging it. We understand you're angry. I'm not angry. You're clearly... I'm done, I interrupt. There's a difference. Anger is hot. This is cold. This is finished. So you're just cutting us off? Complete severance? I'm establishing boundaries. You can either afford your house or you can't. If you can't, you make adult decisions about what to do next. Sarah's got equity in her place. Michael's got savings. You both have options. They're just options that involve you actually participating in the solution. We have our own expenses, Sarah protests. Our own families to take care of. Exactly, I say. So do I. And I'm finally going to start acting like it. Mom's crying now. the quiet kind that kills me. But I stay still, stay firm. "Is there anything we can do?" she asks. "To make this right? To fix this?" You could start by apologizing to Emma and Jake. Actually apologizing, not just deleting evidence that you excluded them. "We'll call them tonight." "No. In person. Come to my apartment, look them in the eyes, and explain why you called them troublemakers." "It was a caption," Sarah says weakly. "A stupid caption I didn't think about." "Think about it now. My 8-year-old daughter cried herself to sleep wondering what she did wrong. My 6-year-old son doesn't understand why Grandma doesn't want to see him. You think a phone call fixes that?" They're quiet. "Here's what's going to happen," I say, and my voice is steady, calm, final. January 1st, the financial arrangement ends. All of it. You handle your own bills. If that means selling the house, selling it. If that means downsizing, downsize. If that means asking your other children for help, ask. "And us?" Mom whispers. Are we still family to you?" It's the question underneath everything, isn't it? The real question that's been lurking behind all the anger and hurt and documentation. "I don't know yet," I tell her honestly. "I need time to figure out what family means when it's not defined by obligation and silence. When it's not about me holding everything up while being told I'm not enough to include." "That's not what..." "It is what. Maybe not what you intended, but definitely what happened. And I need space from that, from all of you, to figure out who I am when I'm not performing the role of invisible foundation." "How long?" Dad asks. "As long as it takes." We sit there in the coffee shop, 7 people who share blood and history and a massive unresolved wound. Outside, it starts to snow. Those big, slow flakes that look peaceful until you remember they're just frozen water falling because gravity demands it. "I need to go," I say finally. "I'm picking up Emma and Jake in an hour." "Wait." Mom reaches for me again. "Please, can't we just talk about this more? Work something out?" We did work something out. For 15 years. And it broke me. I'm done being broken for your comfort. I stand. Leave money for my untouched coffee. Look at them one more time, these people I've loved and sacrificed for and resented and protected all at once. "Figure it out," I tell them. "You're smart people. You'll manage." I walk out into the snow, leaving them at the table with their cold coffee and their uncomfortable truths. My phone rings before I reach my car. Sarah. I decline the call. It rings again. Dad this time. Decline. Michael. Please don't do this. I turn off my phone completely. Drive to Grace's house in silence. Pick up Emma and Jake, who pile into the car with their backpacks and excitement about their day. Dad, I got a gold star in reading, Emma announces. That's amazing, sweetheart. And I built a Lego spaceship, Jake adds. Can't wait to see it. They chatter the whole drive back to the apartment, filling the space with their noise and life and uncomplicated love. When we get inside, they dump their backpacks and immediately start arguing over whose turn it is to pick the movie. I watch them and think, this is what family should feel like. Not heavy, not obligatory, not a weight you carry until it breaks you. Just this. 6 months later, I'm standing in the doorway of a 2-bedroom apartment with a real kitchen. Not my apartment. Not yet. But it could be. It has 2 actual bedrooms with doors that close, a bathroom with no mold, a living room where you could actually fit furniture beyond a Murphy bed. The rent is higher than my studio, but it's doable. For the first time in 15 years, it's actually doable. What do you think? The landlord asks. I think I can breathe here. I think Emma could have her own space. Jake could have his. I think we could eat dinner at a table instead of on the couch. I think this is what stability feels like when you're not secretly bankrupt from supporting other people's stability. I'll take it, I say. We move in 3 weeks later. Emma and Jake are ecstatic, running from room to room, claiming territory, planning where everything will go. I buy them beds from IKEA, spend an entire Saturday assembling furniture while they help by handing me the wrong screws and asking philosophical questions about why instructions are so confusing. It's the best Saturday I've had in years. The family situation has settled. That's the word I use when people ask, which isn't often because I've stopped talking about it with anyone except my therapist. Yes, I got a therapist. Turns out carrying invisible weight for 15 years leaves marks, and those marks need professional attention. Dr. Chen is patient and insightful and doesn't let me deflect with humor the way I do with everyone else. "You're allowed to be angry," she told me in our second session. "I don't feel angry. I feel relieved." "You can be both." Turns out she was right. I'm both. My parents sold the house in March. They fought it for 2 months, tried to find loans, tried to restructure their finances, tried everything except the one thing that would have actually worked, asking Sarah and Michael to contribute. But they couldn't do it. Couldn't admit to their other children that they needed help. Couldn't shatter the illusion that everything was fine. Pride is expensive. They paid for it with 35 years of memories and the address where I grew up. They moved into a nice senior apartment community. 2 bedrooms, maintenance included, medical facilities on site. Honestly, it's probably better for them than the house was. No stairs for Mom's heart, no yard work for Dad's back. But they're bitter about it in a way that makes conversation difficult. We talk once a month, stilted, careful conversations where we discuss weather and their new neighbors and nothing that matters. They haven't apologized to Emma and Jake. I stopped expecting them to. Sarah calls occasionally, usually late at night when she's had wine. The conversations are always the same. She's sorry, she didn't realize. If she could go back, she'd do it differently. Can't we just move past this? I have moved past it, I tell her every time. I've moved past it to a place where you don't get unlimited access to me. You're punishing us. I'm protecting myself. There's a difference. Michael tried once to talk about contributing to help Mom and Dad with their new rent. If you chip in like a third, maybe I could do a third and Sarah, no. Just hear me out. Michael, no, I'm done, completely. They need help, you help them, but I'm out. He hasn't asked again. The interesting thing about letting go is how much space it creates. Space in my budget. I'm saving now, actually building that down payment back up. Space in my head. I'm not constantly calculating crisis math, not lying awake doing financial triage. Space in my life. I've started dating someone, a woman named Rachel who teaches 4th grade and has no idea about any of this drama. I like that you're present, she told me last week over dinner. A lot of guys I've dated are always somewhere else mentally. You're just here. I'm working on it, I said, which was honest. I'm working on being here instead of there, on investing in what's in front of me instead of propping up what's behind me. Emma's excelling in school. Jake's joined soccer. They love the new apartment, love having friends over, love that movie night doesn't involve 3 people crammed into a Murphy bed. Grace commented last time she picked them up that they seem lighter, happier. You do too, she added. Lighter, I mean. I put down some weight. She understood. Grace always understood. The story isn't over. Family stories never really are. There's no neat resolution where everyone hugs and learns a lesson and lives happily ever after. Real life doesn't work that way. But what I have now is distance, perspective, the ability to see that what I called love was actually martyrdom, and what I called family obligation was actually self-destruction. I have boundaries now. They're not pretty. Boundaries drawn after decades of having none rarely are. They're jagged and uncomfortable, and they hurt people who got used to having unlimited access. But they're mine. Some mornings, I wake up in my actual bedroom, in my bed that stays a bed, and I have a moment of disorientation. Like I'm waiting for the phone to ring with a crisis, waiting for the other shoe to drop, waiting to have to sacrifice something else on the altar of family harmony. But the phone doesn't ring. The crisis doesn't come. The shoe stays exactly where it is. And slowly, painfully slowly but definitely, I'm learning what it feels like to live a life that's actually mine. 3 months after that, on a random Tuesday, I get a text from Dad. Just one line. Took your mother to lunch. Used the money we saved not paying property taxes on the old place. Thanks for that, I guess. It's not an apology. It's barely an acknowledgement. But it's something. I don't respond. I just save the text in a folder on my phone labeled Progress and go back to helping Jake with his math homework. Because here's what I've learned. Some people will never fully understand what they took from you. Some people will never acknowledge the cost of their comfort. Some people will never apologize the way you need them to. And that's okay. You don't need their understanding to be free. You don't need their acknowledgement to be whole. You don't need their apology to move forward. You just need to know your own worth, to document your own truth. To stop performing the role of foundation when all you're getting in return is the privilege of being invisible. The best revenge isn't dramatic confrontation or explosive revelation. It's not public humiliation or point scoring. The best revenge is building a life where you don't need revenge, where you're so genuinely okay that their validation becomes irrelevant. I'm not there yet, but I can see it from here. And that view, that sliver of sky between the brick walls, that glimpse of something better ahead, that's enough. If you've ever been the one holding everything together while being told you're not enough to include, if you've ever sacrificed yourself for people who couldn't be bothered to notice, if you've ever confused obligation with love, you are allowed to stop. You are allowed to put down the weight. You are allowed to build a life that doesn't require you to be invisible. The foundation can crack. The structure can fall. And you're allowed to walk away and let them figure out how to rebuild it themselves. That's not revenge. That's justice. That's truth. That's freedom.